At dawn, when the river mirrored the rising sun, it felt like stepping into a painting. She often went there alone, carrying her notebook, sketching the way light touched the water. One morning, as the mist drifted low, she noticed someone else already standing at the middle of the bridge. A young man with tousled dark hair, holding a guitar. He was softly strumming, as if afraid to disturb the silence of the river. Their eyes met, and he gave her a sheepish smile. "Sorry," he said, lowering his voice. "I didn't know anyone else came here this early." Emma shook her head. "Don't be sorry. It sounds beautiful." From then on, their mornings began to overlap. She with her sketchbook, he with his guitar. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. Silence between them never felt heavy, it felt like part of the song, part of the sketch. His name was Daniel. He was a musician trying to find courage to play on bigger stages. She was an art student, searching for inspiration beyond classroom walls. The bridge became their meeting ground, a place where both dreams seemed possible. One chilly morning, Daniel asked, "What do you draw every day?" Emma hesitated, then showed him a page. To his surprise, it was not just the bridge or the sunrise, it was him, bent over his guitar, lost in music. He blinked, then laughed softly. "So I'm your inspiration?" "You are," she admitted, her cheeks warm. He strummed a gentle tune, then sang for her, his voice trembling at first but growing steady. The words spoke of rivers, of light, of someone who made the world less lonely. Emma felt her heart tighten, as if every note had been written for her. When the song ended, silence returned, broken only by the sound of water below. Daniel set his guitar aside and looked at her with quiet bravery. "I think," he said, "I've been writing this song for you." Emma's hand trembled as she reached for his. Dawn spread across the sky, painting everything gold, and for the first time, the old stone bridge was not just a place of solitude, it was the beginning of a love story. Beneath the lantern sky. On a quiet summer evening, the annual Lantern Festival lit up the small riverside town. The air was filled with laughter, music, and the warm glow of countless floating lanterns drifting toward the sky. Among the crowd, Emma stood alone, clutching a folded piece of paper in her hand. She wasn't there for the festivities, she was there because of a promise. 3 years ago, beneath the same glowing sky, Daniel had told her, "No matter where life takes us, let's meet here again in 3 years." Emma had laughed back then, thinking it was a sweet but impossible promise. Life had pulled them apart, he moved abroad for work, she stayed to care for her family. Messages grew fewer, until silence settled between them. Still, the memory of that night had never left her. Now, standing by the river, she unfolded the paper. It was the letter she had written but never sent, filled with words she had been too afraid to say. That she missed him, that her heart still searched for him in the crowd. The first lanterns began to rise. Emma whispered her wish and let her own lantern drift upward. For a moment, she thought she was foolish for coming. But then, "Emma?" The voice was soft, uncertain, but achingly familiar. She turned, her breath catching. Daniel stood a few steps away, holding a lantern of his own, his smile nervous but hopeful. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," he admitted, his eyes reflecting the golden light above. Her heart raced, but words finally spilled from her lips. "I almost didn't, but I couldn't break the promise." Silence lingered, not heavy but tender, like a long-awaited embrace. Then Daniel stepped closer, holding out his lantern. "One more wish?" Emma nodded, and together they released it. The lantern floated high, carrying with it the words they didn't need to say aloud. Under the lantern sky, their hands found each other again, and this time, neither let go. Promise of autumn. The air in the small town carried the scent of falling leaves and wood smoke when Emily returned after 5 years away. She had left for the city with dreams bigger than the hills surrounding her childhood home, but now, the familiar streets felt both distant and comforting. At the old bookshop near the square, she stopped. Its wooden sign creaked in the wind, just as it had when she was 17. Pushing the door open, she was greeted by the warm scent of paper and dust, and by James. He looked up from the counter, startled, his hazel eyes widening. "Emily?" His voice carried both surprise and something softer, something he hadn't allowed himself to hope for. "Hi, James," she whispered, her heart racing. They had been inseparable once, bound by laughter, shared secrets, and late-night promises whispered under the stars. But life had pulled them apart, her ambition clashing with his quiet love for the town. "I thought..." He trailed off, placing the book in his hands down carefully. "I thought you'd never come back." "I didn't think I would either," Emily admitted. "But the city, it wasn't what I imagined. It felt empty without you." Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. James stepped closer, his presence grounding her. "Do you remember what you said that night by the lake?" he asked softly. Emily smiled faintly. "That no matter where I went, autumn would remind me of you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was worn, edges frayed. "I kept your letter," he said. "The one you left me. I read it every time the leaves turned." Her eyes blurred with tears. "You waited?" "I didn't know if I was waiting," James replied. "But I never stopped believing that maybe, someday." She took his hand, their fingers fitting together as naturally as before. "Someday is today." Outside, the wind carried leaves swirling through the square. Inside the little bookshop, surrounded by the quiet comfort of pages and memory, Emily leaned into him, the distance of years dissolving in a single embrace. And in that moment, they both knew, the promise of autumn had finally come true. The bridge at dusk. Evelyn had always loved the old stone bridge in her town. It arched gently over the river, its lanterns glowing warm as twilight fell. She came there often after work, sketchbook in hand, finding comfort in the rippling water and the quiet hum of passing strangers. One evening, while drawing the fading colors of sunset, she noticed someone else lingering by the railing. A young man, tall and thoughtful, strumming a guitar so softly it almost blended with the sound of the river. His music was tender, unpolished, yet it carried a raw sincerity that made her pause. Their eyes met briefly. He smiled, a little shyly. She returned the smile and went back to her sketch, though her heart beat faster than before. The next evening, he was there again. This time, he greeted her. "You come here often?" he asked. "Almost every day," she said. "It's the only place that feels alive at dusk." He nodded, plucking another chord. "I come here to practice. Somehow, the river doesn't judge when I miss a note." They laughed, and something unspoken passed between them, two souls meeting in a quiet corner of the world. Days turned into weeks. Evelyn drew while Daniel, as she learned his name, played music. Sometimes they talked about books, dreams, or the places they wished to see. Other times, silence was enough. The bridge became their secret sanctuary. One chilly evening, as autumn leaves scattered across the water, Daniel stopped playing mid-song. He looked at her intently, as though gathering courage. "I wrote something," he said. "But it only feels complete if you hear it." He began to play, his fingers trembling at first, then steadying. The melody was simple, but woven with warmth. His voice carried softly into the dusk, and in every note, Evelyn heard what words often failed to capture: longing, hope, and the quiet beginning of love. When the last chord faded, neither spoke for a moment. The lanterns flickered above them, and the river flowed on. Evelyn closed her sketchbook, stepped closer, and whispered, "It's beautiful." Daniel smiled nervously. "It's for you." Her heart, which had always found comfort in the stillness of the bridge, now raced with something new. She reached for his hand, and he held it, as if it had always been waiting for hers. From then on, the bridge was no longer just a place of sketches and songs. It was where their story began, quiet, simple, and illuminated by the glow of dusk.